There's a silent war happening inside you, a war that no one else can see, a war between who you are and who you could become, a war between your highest potential and your lowest self-doubt. And at the center of that war is your thinking. The thoughts you think shape the life you live, not the job, not the boss, not the economy, not the weather. Your thinking, your mind is the gatekeeper. It either opens the path to greatness or locks you in a prison of mediocrity. And here's the truth. The enemy doesn't need to destroy your life. It only needs to corrupt your thinking. Negative thinking is not just a bad habit, it's a virus. It starts as a whisper, becomes a narrative, then a belief, then a destiny. I'm not enough. It's too late. I always mess things up. These aren't just thoughts, they're weapons. They erode your confidence. They bury your dreams. They make you hesitate when you should move. And over time, you don't even need external resistance. You've become your own obstacle. So today, we burn that script. Today, we write a new mental code. Because success, joy, progress, they don't happen by accident. They happen when you learn to eliminate the thinking that holds you hostage. Not just once, daily, ruthlessly, intentionally. Let me show you how. 10 lessons, not tips, not tricks, lessons. Because if you truly learn them, they will rewire how you see the world, how you speak to yourself, how you rise in the morning and how you rest at night. You'll stop being at the mercy of your thoughts and start becoming the master of them. Lesson 1, learn to observe your thoughts without judgment. Most people think that every thought they have is true, that just because they thought it, it must mean something. But the mind is not a pure machine. It's influenced by fear, by past experiences, by culture, by the voices of people who had no right to define you. Your mind is full of echoes, not facts. And until you learn to observe your thoughts, you will believe every one of them. To eliminate negative thinking, you must become the watcher, not the reactor. You must learn to sit with a thought, hold it in your mental palm and ask, where did you come from? Are you helping me or hurting me? Just because a thought visits doesn't mean it deserves a room. Train your awareness. Build that inner pause. That's how you reclaim control. Lesson 2, learn the language of your mind. Words are the programming language of the brain. What you say to yourself in silence becomes your script in action. If you constantly say, I can't, your brain doesn't argue, it obeys. If you say, I'm not good with people, guess what? You become awkward and withdrawn because your mind follows your command. You don't need fake positivity, but you do need conscious language. Replace I'm always messing up with I'm learning quickly. Replace this is too hard with this is teaching me strength. Speak as if your words are carving your reality because they are. Learn the power of verbal alignment. Lesson 3, learn to starve the negativity you feed daily. You don't just think negatively, you consume it. The people you follow, the news you absorb, the conversations you tolerate, the inner critic you entertain. Negativity is not just in your thoughts, it's in your environment. If you keep eating junk food, your body breaks down. If you keep feeding your mind junk input, your belief system breaks down. Audit your mental diet. Cut the sarcasm, the gossip, the comparison. Surround yourself with strength, not sympathy. Input determines output, so be ruthless about what you allow in. Lesson 4, learn the power of questions. The mind is a question-answering machine. Ask a weak question like, why am I such a failure? And your mind will gladly provide reasons. Ask a powerful question like, what's one thing I can do better today? And suddenly, your brain shifts from sabotage to solution. Negative thinkers ask questions that shrink them. Leaders ask questions that grow them. Ask yourself daily, what am I grateful for? What am I capable of? What can I do today that my future self will thank me for? The quality of your life is the quality of the questions you ask consistently. Lesson 5, learn to separate emotion from identity. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you are a coward. Just because you feel doubt doesn't mean you're incapable. Emotion is an experience, not a definition. But most people confuse the two. They say, I'm anxious, instead of saying, I'm experiencing anxiety. One locks you in, the other gives you power. Start saying, I'm noticing that I feel overwhelmed, but I am not my overwhelm. Feel the emotion, acknowledge it, but never wear it as your name tag. Your emotions are messengers, not masters. Learn to hear them without obeying them. Lesson 6. Learn to interrupt the pattern. Negative thinking is not random, it's patterned. You wake up and think the same thoughts you thought yesterday. You look in the mirror, feel the same insecurities. You start something new, and the same doubts creep in. That's not coincidence, that's habit. To eliminate negative thought loops, you have to break the rhythm. When the thought shows up, say stop, stand up, move your body, speak out loud, change your posture, change your breath, change your scenery. Change interrupts the script, and every interruption weakens the loop. The faster you catch it, the less power it holds. Lesson 7. Learn the difference between reflection and rumination. Self-reflection is powerful. It brings growth. It helps you analyze, learn, and improve. But rumination is destructive. It's when you replay the same mistake again and again, not to learn, but to punish yourself. It's when you water the seeds of guilt and watch them become weeds of regret. The key difference is intent. Are you reflecting to get better or ruminating to stay bitter? Are you using the past to rise or to justify why you can't? Learn to cut the cord on toxic reflection. Learn to say, I've felt it, I've learned, and now I release it. Growth is not in the replay, it's in the release. Lesson 8. Learn that energy is a choice. Negative thoughts love low energy. They thrive when you're tired, sedentary, and passive. But your physiology is a weapon. Your movement, your breath, your tone, they all signal to your brain what state you're in. Want to eliminate negativity? Move. Lift your chest. Breathe deeper. Speak with intention. Train. Stretch. Run. Dance. The body is the shortcut to the mind. You don't think your way into energy. You move your way into clarity. When your energy changes, your thoughts follow. Lesson 9. Learn to create instead of react. The reactive mind is always on defense. What if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if this goes wrong? But the creative mind is on offense. It says, what can I build today? What can I shape from this chaos? What's one small win I can create? You're not here to constantly react to life. You're here to craft it, to shape it like an artist shapes clay, to mold the day, not just survive it. When your focus is creation, your mind has no room for destruction. Trade passive worry for purposeful creation. Lesson 10. Learn to forgive yourself fully. Negative thinking often finds its roots in unresolved guilt, in shame, in the silent belief that you're not worthy of happiness because of who you were or what you did. And here's the truth. Most never say out loud, if you do not forgive yourself, you will forever sabotage your future to punish your past. Forgiveness doesn't mean you condone it. It means you release the hold it has over you. It means you say, I did the best I could with the awareness I had, and now I choose better. Every day you refuse to forgive yourself, you feed the story that you're broken. But you're not broken. You're building. Forgive. Learn. Grow. Now pause. Breathe. These aren't just lessons. They are transformations. Each one is a door out of your mental prison. And if you walk through them not once, but daily, you'll notice something miraculous. Your thoughts begin to serve you instead of sabotage you. Your energy starts to rise. Your confidence grows. And slowly, your reality begins to reflect a new pattern, a pattern of power. You were not born to live with chains around your thoughts. You were not created to suffer under the weight of self-doubt and mental noise. You were made to lead yourself and then lead others. But you can't lead with a mind full of poison. So clear it, train it, elevate it. The world will try to define you by your failures, your flaws, your fears. But that's not who you are. That's just where you started. And today, you choose differently. You choose strength. You choose mastery. You choose a mind that works for you, not against you. So tell your thoughts who's in charge and become everything they said you couldn't be. Because here's what they never told you. The most dangerous prison is the one you don't even know you're in. It's built brick by brick from doubts you never challenged, from criticisms you internalized, from voices that weren't yours, but became your beliefs. And you've lived in it for so long that you started decorating it, making it comfortable, calling it normal. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. And just because it feels safe doesn't mean it's freedom. Freedom starts when you refuse to accept thoughts that belittle your power. It begins when you question the things you've always believed about yourself. It starts the moment you say, no more. No more settling for anxiety as identity. No more living under the dictatorship of fear. No more being at war with your own mind. Because you were not made to survive in darkness. You were made to walk in light. And if you truly understood who you are, what you are capable of, you wouldn't waste another second rehearsing pain that no longer serves you. Listen to me. You are not your past. You are not your patterns. You are not your lowest moment, your worst mistake, your loudest doubt. You are potential in motion. You are discipline waiting to be awakened. You are resilience wearing a human face. You are greatness that has been lied to but not destroyed. And everything you need to rise already lives inside you. The courage, it's there. The clarity, it's waiting. The breakthrough, it's behind one more choice. So stop arguing for your limitations. Stop defending your doubt. Stop holding hands with the very thoughts that have held you back. There is no room for guilt in growth. There is no room for shame in transformation. There is no room for fear where purpose lives. You don't need to wait to be ready. You need to decide. Decide to speak differently, to walk differently, to show up with the mindset of someone who belongs in the room, not someone who snuck in through the back door. Decide to carry yourself like someone who has seen darkness and chose to become the light. Because the greatest power you'll ever access is not inspiration. It's not talent. It's not even motivation. It's choice. You choose what thoughts you entertain. You choose what emotions you nurture. You choose what vision you hold. And when your choices are aligned with your vision, the noise fades and your inner world becomes unshakable. So choose the higher thought. Choose the clearer path. Choose to lead your mind instead of being led by it. And when the doubt comes back, because it will, you don't run. You stand taller, you breathe deeper. You speak louder. You say, I've met you before, but I'm not who I used to be. That's the difference. That's what separates those who live limited by their past from those who lead with vision. The ones who rise don't rise because the storm stopped. They rise because they became the storm. Because they stopped waiting for the world to validate them and decided to validate themselves. Because they built a new identity one thought at a time. And that identity once forged is unstoppable. So here's the final truth. Eliminating negative thinking isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming present. Present to your power. Present to your purpose. Present to your ability to rewrite the story in real time. Right here. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not when things are easier. Not when people believe in you. Now. Because every second you delay is a second stolen by the lesser version of you. And that version, the scared one, the passive one, the doubtful one, has run your life long enough. So, close the chapter. Write the new one. And this time, let it be bold. Let it be disciplined. Let it be filled with gratitude and drive and quiet confidence that says, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And you, yes, you are about to become unstoppable. Because the moment you eliminate the thoughts that tear you down, you begin building a life that lifts you up. And the world? It won't even recognize you 6 months from now. But you will. Because you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was you choosing higher every single day. And that's how you win. Not just once, but for a lifetime. There is a voice inside you, not a whisper, not a murmur, but a roaring truth that the world tried to quiet. It's the part of you that knows you're capable of more, born for more, destined for more. But life is relentless. It doesn't ask for your permission. It throws its weight against your dreams, tests your resolve, seduces you into mediocrity with comfort, excuses, and the illusion of tomorrow. But a winning attitude, that inner fire, is not inherited. It is forged, built, hammered into place through the daily discipline of refusing to be average. See, winning is not something you stumble into. It's something you decide. Something you carve into the fabric of your character like a sculptor, chiseling away at raw stone until greatness is revealed underneath. And the tool, the blade, the unbreakable edge that cuts through resistance, fear, and doubt is attitude. A winning attitude isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's not blind optimism. It's not fake smiles and Instagram quotes. A winning attitude is the audacity to rise when you've been broken. It's the steel spine of belief when no one claps for you. It's showing up when you're exhausted, moving forward, when the road is uphill, and doing what's right even when it's invisible to the world. It begins in the mind. Mindset is not a luxury. It's your foundation. Your attitude towards the day decides whether the hours become bricks or burdens, whether you build something or break under pressure. Your mind will either be your prison or your power plant. It will grow weeds or grow wealth. And the deciding factor is not talent, it's intention. Every morning you wake up, you're handed a blank check from life. What you write on it is up to you. Some cash it in with purpose, some tear it up with doubt. You must learn to speak life into your day before the world speaks death into your dreams. The first habit of a winning attitude is simple to say, rare to master. Guard yourself. Talk like your life depends on it, because it does. Words are seeds and your mind is fertile soil. What you say to yourself, about yourself, when no one is watching, that is the script that plays in the theater of your destiny. Losers rehearse pain. Winners rehearse power. The average person talks themselves out of greatness 10 times before breakfast. But the winner, the real winner, speaks victory into existence. They say, I don't care how I feel. I decide who I am. They say, I may not be there yet, but I'm on the path. I'm in the fight. They understand that the world does not respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you believe you're worthy of. But belief is not magic. Belief is built. The second habit of a winning attitude is this. Earn your confidence through promises kept to yourself. Most people don't lack ability, they lack self-respect. Every time you say you'll do something and you don't, a piece of you dies. Your word becomes worthless in your own eyes. But every promise kept is a brick in the fortress of identity. When you say, I'll do it, and you actually do, especially when it's hard, you become unstoppable. Not because it gets easier, but because you no longer negotiate with your weakness. It's easy to dream when you're comfortable. It's easy to talk when there's no sacrifice. But a winning attitude is built in the trenches, built on early mornings when no one sees, built on pushing the plate away, lifting the weight, making the call, writing the page, showing up when no one would blame you for staying down. The third habit is clarity of vision. You can't win a race you haven't defined. And too many people wander through life like it's a waiting room, waiting for permission, waiting for the right moment, waiting to feel ready. But you will die waiting. The winner doesn't wait. They don't need all the answers. They just need the direction and the decision. They write down the vision. They stare at it daily. They craft it in detail. Not vague hopes, but vivid clarity. Because what you focus on, you move toward. What you stare at long enough, you become. Clarity creates momentum. And momentum is more powerful than motivation. Once you know what you want, you don't wait to feel like it. You act like it. You move with purpose. You eliminate distraction. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop chasing people who don't believe in the fire burning inside you. The fourth habit is obsession with growth. Not perfection, not comparison, growth. See, winners don't just do what works. They become obsessed with what could be better. They study themselves like a craftsman studies his tools. They break down their days, their actions, their thoughts. They reflect. They adjust. They outgrow. You can't take the same mind into the next level of your life. The attitude that gets you started will not be enough to keep you climbing. You will need more awareness, more humility, more hunger. You will need to admit that what got you here won't get you there. You must become addicted to progress, to the feeling of sharpening yourself. Winners don't fear being wrong, they fear staying wrong. They don't protect ego, they destroy it in the fire of truth. Every day is a test, every moment is feedback, every mistake is a message, and the winning attitude reads that message loud and clear. I must evolve, or I will evaporate. The fifth habit is choosing pain with purpose over pleasure with regret. The world tells you to chase ease, to follow your feelings, to do what's comfortable. That's why most people never become what they were meant to be, because they choose the easy wrong over the difficult right. But winners, they are different. They don't avoid pain. They select it. They schedule it. They use it. Pain is the entry fee to all strength. And the truth is, you're going to suffer either way, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. But only one of them sharpens you. Only one of them adds value to your character. The other steals years from your life. You can train when you don't feel like it or break down because you didn't. You can study when it's boring or pay the price for being unprepared. You can have hard conversations now or drown in silent resentment later. The difference between winners and losers isn't luck. It's what pain they're willing to face and for what outcome. You must become dangerous not to others, but to your own excuses, lethal to your procrastination, a threat to your laziness. And that kind of fire comes from the sixth habit, living with purpose, not preference. Most people live emotionally. They do what they feel like doing. They're slaves to their moods, victims of their environment, hostages of convenience. But winners live by standards. They are not ruled by how they feel. They are ruled by who they decided to become. They've defined their purpose so clearly, so powerfully, that it overrides excuses, distractions, and comfort. Purpose makes pain irrelevant. Purpose gives suffering meaning. Purpose is the jet fuel for resilience. And purpose isn't found. It's forged. In silence. In solitude. In seasons where no one claps and everything feels uphill. You sit with yourself and you ask, what am I really building? Who am I doing this for? What does my life say about what I value? Because if your life doesn't align with your answers, you don't have purpose. You have poetry. And poetry won't save you when life breaks your back and demands to know what you're made of. You need vision. You need values. You need a WHY so deep it silences every excuse before it escapes your lips. And from that purpose flows the seventh habit, discipline without negotiation. Discipline is the bridge between potential and power, between who you are and who you could be. But let's be honest, discipline is not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's repetition, it's the grind, it's doing it again and again when the novelty wears off, when no one is clapping, when the results are still invisible. It's boring to the world, but beautiful to the winners. Winners don't ask, do I feel like it? They say, this is who I am. Discipline is identity in motion. It's self-respect in action. It's the armor against mediocrity. And the truth is, success doesn't go to the smartest. It goes to the most consistent. Not the person who can give 100% once, but the one who gives 85% every damn day. You train your attitude like you train a muscle. You don't skip reps just because the gym is empty. You don't break your diet just because no one is watching. You don't abandon your goals because you're tired. You execute. You rise. You honor the standard you set, not because it's easy, but because it's required. Because once you understand what's required, everything else becomes irrelevant. Not how you feel, not what the crowd thinks, not what's trending, what's required. That is the standard. And the eighth habit, the one that keeps this fire from burning out, is this: radical responsibility. Winners don't point fingers. They point thumbs. They don't say, "Why is this happening to me?" They say, "What am I going to do about it?" They don't blame the system, the timing, the boss, the parents, the weather, the government, because blaming robs you of power, and a winning attitude is allergic to powerlessness. You will never rise above the level of responsibility you're willing to accept. If life is a fight, then excuses are handcuffs. And most people are locked in a cage of their own creation because it's easier to blame than to build. But the truth is, the moment you decide that everything is your fault is the moment you set yourself free. It doesn't mean you caused everything, but it means you claim the power to change anything. You can't control the storm, but you can control your sail. You can't control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond. You can't control your past, but you can choose what it means. Responsibility is the birthplace of freedom. It is not a burden. It is a blessing. It is not weight on your shoulders. It is wings on your back. The ninth habit that fuels a winning attitude is this: relentless gratitude for the grind, not just gratitude for blessings. That's easy. Anybody can be grateful when the sun is shining and the numbers look good. No, I'm talking about warrior gratitude. The kind that says, thank you for the pain. Thank you for the struggle. Thank you for the failure. Thank you for every late night, every rejection, every detour that forced me to evolve. Because when you truly understand the game, you stop resenting the process and start respecting it. Gratitude reframes everything. The struggle doesn't break you. It builds you. The obstacle doesn't block the path. It is the path. The delay isn't punishment. It's preparation. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, try me. Because the struggle is where the story gets written. The hardship is where the muscles get built. The pain is where the poetry gets power. You become grateful, not just for what you gain, but for who you become. And this is what unlocks the final habit. The 10th and final trait of a winning attitude: aggressive adaptation. Because here's the truth. Life doesn't care how prepared you were. It will still hit you sideways. It will still shift the rules. It will still test your flexibility. And if you're rigid, you will snap. If you're stuck in your ways, you will be left behind. Winners adapt like water. They move around, over, through. They bend without breaking. They pivot without losing the vision. They evolve. They iterate. They transform. Because they understand it's not the strongest that survives. It's the one most willing to change. A winning attitude is never stagnant. It's fluid. It flows. It listens. It learns. It recalibrates. You get knocked down? Good, now get up differently. Your plan didn't work? Fine now, make a better one. The world changed? Perfect, so will you. There is no scenario that breaks you, only scenarios that build new versions of you. Because that's what this is really about. Not just success, not just winning, but transformation. Becoming the kind of person who no longer negotiates with fear, who doesn't shrink to fit comfort, who doesn't apologize for their drive, who walks into rooms and doesn't need to explain why they belong there. It's about becoming the version of yourself that doesn't flinch when tested, that doesn't fold under pressure, that doesn't need to be pushed, because they pull themselves with vision, with fire, with relentless hunger. It's about building a life that screams excellence, not because you had it easy, but because you were willing to do what most won't. And it all starts with your attitude. So rise. Speak power into your life. Keep your promises to yourself. Write the vision. Chase the growth. Choose meaningful pain. Live by purpose. Discipline your mind. Own your reality. Thank the storm. Adapt with joy. And when the world looks at you, let them see a human forged in fire. Let them see what it looks like to win from the inside out. Let them see someone who didn't just hope, they decided. Let them see you and remember who they were born to become. Because that's what your attitude does. It doesn't just change your world, it radiates. It pulls others into orbit. It commands respect, not through noise, but through presence. You walk into a room differently when your soul is aligned with your standards. You look people in the eyes differently when you've earned your own respect in the dark. You don't have to shout when your life speaks for you. And let's be clear, there will be days when the fire is low, days when doubt creeps in like a fog, days when the mirror reflects fear instead of faith. But this is when the real ones are revealed. Because a winning attitude isn't about feeling like a champion. It's about acting like one, especially when you don't. You fight through the fog. You move through the mess. You take one more step, even if it's on bruised feet and borrowed strength. Because it's not the big wins that define you, it's the small choices when no one's watching. The moment you could quit and no one would blame you, but you don't. The moment you could let up, but you lean in. That's when greatness is born. And here's what most people miss. Your attitude isn't a tool for success. It is success. Because the house doesn't build itself. The dream doesn't manifest on its own. It all comes down to the bricklayer. The one laying down discipline after discipline, belief after belief, morning after morning with zero applause. So lay the brick. Lay it when you're tired. Lay it when you're discouraged. Lay it when no one believes. Because one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you'll look up and realize you're standing inside something that others only talk about. You'll realize that the fortress wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It wasn't handed down. It was earned. It was built. It was bled for. With sweat, with standards, with sacrifice. And it started with the decision to show up with a winning attitude not once, but daily. Even when it was inconvenient. Especially when it was inconvenient. Because here's the final truth. Life responds to energy. It bends to posture. It opens to those who demand more by becoming more. It rises to meet those who have already decided to rise. So the question is not, will you win? The question is, who are you becoming? Are you the type to crumble or the type to create? Do you fold under pressure or forge yourself in it? Do you complain about the mountain or conquer it? You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need permission. You don't need another guru or gimmick. You need you fully engaged, fully committed, fully locked in with the mindset of a warrior, the clarity of a leader, and the discipline of a champion. Because when the world sees that version of you, they'll call it inspiration. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was your attitude sharpened, shaped, and strengthened every single day. You will become a monument to the quiet war, the inner war, the one nobody saw but you fought anyway, the battle between who you were and who you were destined to be. And every time you chose discipline over comfort, every time you chose responsibility over excuses, every time you stood up, even while shaking, you carved that destiny deeper into your bones. This isn't about hype. This isn't about some sugar-coated version of motivation. This is about self-respect. This is about becoming the kind of person you would follow into fire. The kind of person whose life screams, I paid the price. I did the work. I didn't just want it. I earned it. And that changes everything. You walk differently when you know what you've conquered. You speak differently when your words are backed by experience. You show up differently when your confidence comes from scars, not just affirmations. That's the kind of attitude that can't be faked, can't be borrowed, can't be sold. It's forged in silence, in struggle, in the tension between who you are and who you refuse to remain. And when you carry that kind of energy, the world notices. Not always with applause, sometimes with fear, sometimes with jealousy, but always with respect. Because real recognizes real. Fire respects fire. You don't need to convince people when your presence makes the case. You don't need to prove anything when your consistency speaks louder than their doubt. You don't need to shout over the noise when your work is echoing in rooms you haven't even entered yet. And that's what you must remember. Your winning attitude is planting seeds today that will bloom in places your feet haven't touched yet. Opportunities are watching. Destiny is waiting. And fate is taking notes not on your feelings, but on your faithfulness. So show up again again and again. Not because it's easy, but because you're no longer available for anything less than excellence. Because the life you want will not yield to hesitation. It will not bend for indecision. It will not unlock its doors for those who knock softly. It opens for the relentless, for the resolved, for the person who wakes up with fire in their belly and refuses to leave this earth average. So if there's a voice in you that's whispering, "You're made for more," believe it. If there's a stirring in your gut that says, "This can't be all there is," chase it. If your soul is aching to build something bigger than survival, something greater than existence, honor it. Because that's not delusion, that's destiny knocking. And your attitude is the key. The way you think, speak, act, believe, persist it, is either building the ladder to your next level or the cage to your current one. So ask yourself, what am I allowing? What am I tolerating? What am I becoming through my choices? Because every attitude you feed becomes a habit. Every habit becomes your nature, and your nature becomes your future. This isn't about a morning routine or a motivational quote. This is about becoming unshakable, a force, a fire, a soul that can't be silenced by fear, failure, or fatigue. This is about waking up and saying with your actions, not just your words, "I'm here to win." And win. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you're better than who you were yesterday. Because you didn't settle. You didn't sell out. You didn't stay down. You rose. Again, with resolve in your eyes, thunder in your chest, and purpose in every breath. Because you decided once and for all that losing was no longer on the table. And that is what a winning attitude is. It's not what you have. It's who you are. Because something deep within you is still stirring, still rising, still reaching for that next breath, that next level, that next revelation of who you're meant to become. And you don't silence that voice, you answer it with movement, with mastery, with meaning. See, most people live their entire lives asking life for permission. You are here to command it. You don't need a lucky break. You need an unbreakable spirit. You don't need motivation that fades by noon. You need conviction that burns at midnight. You don't need someone to hand you a map. You need to become the one who draws it with blood, with belief, with the kind of attitude that makes average impossible. This is your time. Not later. Not someday. Not when things line up. Now. Because the truth is, you don't get what you want in life. You get what you are willing to become. And becoming starts today. So rise with intensity. Walk with fire. Think with clarity. Speak with authority. Love with depth. Move with discipline. Adapt with courage. Execute without compromise. Let the world adjust to your standard. Let the noise fade behind your focus. Let your life be a living declaration that you chose to become the rare kind, the relentless kind, the powerful kind, the kind of person who didn't just chase success, they embodied it. Because in the end, the goal was never just to win. It was to become undeniable. And that begins and ends with the attitude you carry through every second, every season, every storm. So don't ask if you're ready. Decide that you are. Then move. And never look back. Because looking back is for the ones who doubt, for the ones who hesitate, for the ones still entertaining the idea that maybe they weren't built for this. But you are past that now. You've buried that version of you in the ashes of your former limitations. And from those ashes you rise, not as a version of who you once were, but as the architect of who you decided to become. There is no more time to waste. No more energy to spend on what could have been. There is only now. And the decision you make in this moment changes everything. Right now, you are standing on the edge of two lives, one defined by compromise, one ignited by conviction. The only bridge between the two is your attitude. And so you shift, you raise your chin, you set your jaw, You burn the excuses. You cancel the apology tour. And you walk not as a victim of life, but as a force within it. Because you were never here just to exist. You were here to dominate your fears, to rewrite your story, to elevate your bloodline, to shock the world with the sheer velocity of your rise. And when they ask, what changed? You won't need to explain. They'll see it in your eyes, in your tone, in the way you carry yourself with quiet power, with absolute certainty, with the kind of energy that says, I didn't wait to be chosen. I chose myself. I didn't wait to be saved. I saved myself. I didn't wait for the timing. I became the timing. And I didn't wait for a miracle. I became one. This is the level, the one where nothing is accidental, where your actions scream louder than intentions, where the grind is no longer about goals, it's about identity. You don't work hard to get something, you work hard because it's who you are, because you refuse to be the kind of person who sleeps on potential, wastes, gifts, or plays small in a universe designed for expansion. You refuse to let your life be a cautionary tale. So from this moment forward, every move you make is sacred. Every step is a statement. Every choice is a carving into the stone of legacy. Because in the end, your winning attitude isn't just for success. It's for significance. It's not just about rising. It's about lifting others with the example of your resilience. It's about becoming the evidence for someone else that greatness is possible, that transformation is real. That strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build day by day, through battle, through belief, through a relentless refusal to back down. So carry this fire, guard it, feed it, protect it from mediocrity, like your future depends on it, because it does. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary. You are not here to chase. You are here to create. You are not here to wish. You are here to work. So rise and never let the world convince you otherwise, because the most dangerous person in any room is the one with a clear mind, an open heart, and an unshakable winning attitude. And when that kind of person walks into the room, something shifts. The air tightens. The silence stretches. People feel it before they even understand it. Because greatness doesn't need a name tag, it leaves an imprint. It carves its presence into the moment without raising its voice. That's what your attitude becomes. Not noise, but weight. Not volume, but gravity. And while others still doubt themselves, still wait for signs, still search for some outside validation, you're already in motion, already creating, already commanding your space, not with arrogance, but with absolute inner alignment. That alignment, that integration of thought, action, and belief is rare. It's what separates winners from wishers, builders from beggars, leaders from followers. Because when your attitude is right, you don't chase opportunities. You attract them. You don't need to plead for recognition. Your work is already echoing in the halls where decisions are made. You walk with such conviction, the universe itself moves to accommodate your path. And yet, this path is not for the faint-hearted. It demands that you sacrifice the need for comfort in exchange for the fire of progress. It demands you give up popularity for purpose. It demands you let go of who you were taught to be so you can become who you chose to be. This is the price, and it is worth it. Because the moment you trade external approval for internal excellence, you become free. Free from the opinions of the small-minded. Free from the chains of the past. Free from the weight of who you used to be. Now you walk in authority, not over others, but over yourself. That's power. That's real freedom. To wake up and know that no matter what comes today, you have the mindset to meet it, the resilience to rise through it, the clarity to outlast it, and the drive to win in spite of it. That is the gift of a winning attitude. It makes the chaos irrelevant. It makes the setbacks fuel. It makes the grind sacred. And when others look for ways out, you look for ways in. When others stall at discomfort, you lean into it. When others crack under pressure, you sharpen under it because you don't fear the fire anymore. You are the fire. So burn through the noise. Burn through the fear. Burn through the old stories that told you to sit down, be quiet, play safe. You are done with all of that. Now you are the one others look to when the storm hits. You are the one who stands still while everything else shakes. You are the one who makes progress when others are making excuses. And every time you take another step, another rep, another call, another leap, you are leaving behind proof. Proof that power is not something you're born with, it's something you earn. Through intention, through repetition, through an attitude that refuses to accept anything less than greatness. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to shrink to fit. You were never meant to tiptoe through life, hoping you don't break something. You were meant to leave a mark. You were meant to walk through walls that others call permanent. You were meant to carry the kind of energy that speaks louder than credentials, louder than appearance, louder than background. And now, with every fiber of your being, you declare, I am no longer available for average. I am done negotiating with fear. I am done watering down my dreams to fit the comfort zones of others. I am done dimming my light to protect their insecurity. From this moment forward, I live lit. I live loud. I live with a posture of purpose, a mindset of mastery, and an attitude so electric the world can't help but take notice. Because this is what a winning attitude looks like. It is not loud. It is not desperate. It is decided. It is a quiet thunder, a calm storm, a relentless force disguised as daily habits. And now that you've tasted it, you'll never go back. Because once you see what's possible through belief, through discipline, through fire, you'll never again settle for what's probable. You were born to rise. So rise. Because what you've just ignited within your mind, within your heart, within your spirit is not a temporary motivation. It is not a spark to be admired. It is a wildfire to be fed daily, relentlessly, with your actions, with your standards, with your attitude. And from this moment on, you don't just live, you lead, you build, you become. Because this is not the finale. This is the beginning of the real you. Now go and win. There comes a moment when every ambitious soul wakes up and realizes it's no longer enough to survive. Survival is for the uncertain, for the indifferent, for the passive. But you were never built to coast. You were never designed to drift through days with a muted heart and an uninspired mind. No. You are a leader not by title, but by temperament. Not by role, but by responsibility. And if you're awake enough to hear these words, you know. You feel it deep in your bones, the call to rise, to sharpen, to lead not just others, but first yourself. Because all leadership begins within. No crown, no position, no applause will ever compensate for a person who cannot command their own mind, their own days, their own destiny. You don't get to lead anyone else until you can lead your own energy out of mediocrity. And that is where the first transformation begins. Plan 1. Master your internal world or become a slave to your external one. The battlefield of the ambitious is not the market, the economy, or the competition. It is the space between their ears. The most dangerous war is the quiet one. You wage against your own limitations, your own excuses, your own doubt that whispers, maybe I'm not ready. But a true leader doesn't wait to feel ready. They decide to be ready. They command their thoughts like a general commands an army. Every day, before the world even sees you, you must win in the dark. Win when the alarm goes off. Win when your body says no and your purpose says go. Win when your mind starts negotiating with weakness and you answer back with clarity, discipline, and authority. You were never meant to follow the mood of the day. You were meant to set it. Which brings us to the next plan. Lead with clarity or be led by chaos. An unclear leader is a dangerous one. Not because they're evil, but because they drift. And when leaders drift, people drown. Businesses stall. Families suffer. Futures are delayed. Clarity is the compass. And too many ambitious people are busy without direction, building without vision. exhausting themselves for goals they never defined. You don't get points for movement. You get results for alignment. So stop. Ask yourself, what am I building? Why does it matter? Who must I become to deserve it? Write it, speak it, burn it into your mind. Because once clarity exists, everything else begins to arrange itself around it. Decisions become obvious. Distractions lose their power. And your life stops feeling like noise and starts feeling like a mission. Now, with mission in place, it's time to activate Plan 3. Upgrade your standards or get buried under your circumstances. Too many leaders suffer in silence because they try to fix results without fixing the root, and the root is always standards. You get what you tolerate. In health, in business, in relationships, in your own habits. The truth? You don't rise to your potential, you fall to your standards. And if your standards are built on emotion, on convenience, on the comfort of fitting in, you will fail silently and call it balance. You don't need balance. You need alignment. You need conviction. You need a standard so high that it repels everything that doesn't belong in the life you're building. Raise the standard. Raise it so high it offends the part of you that still wants to play small. Raise it until it scares you, because that's when it's finally aligned with your calling. Then enforce it. Not once, not when it's easy, but daily, until it becomes identity. And once your identity is anchored in power, it's time to activate the fourth plan. Take complete ownership of everything, every win, every loss, every inch of progress. The moment you assign blame is the moment you hand away your influence. Leaders don't play the victim. They don't wait for rescue. They don't outsource responsibility. They look in the mirror and say, if it's to be, it's up to me. You don't control everything, but you control your response to everything. You control how you lead when the storm hits. You control how you speak when emotions rise. You control whether you panic or plan. Blame builds nothing. Ownership builds empires. So stop pointing fingers. Start building foundations. And once that foundation is laid, activate Plan 5. Design your environment for war, not comfort. Because your environment is not neutral. It is either pulling you forward or dragging you down. Every leader has blind spots, traps, saboteurs disguised as friends, excuses hiding in routines. And if your environment is not engineered to align with your future, it will keep pulling you back to your past. Clean the room. Change the music. Cut the noise. Block the apps. Fire the energy drainers. Surround yourself with forces that sharpen you, not soothe you into sleep. A lion doesn't grow strong in a petting zoo. It needs the wild, the pressure, the hunt. You are not here to be coddled. You are here to conquer. Now you're ready for Plan 6. Move with urgency. Live like your legacy depends on the next decision, because it does. The clock is not your friend. It is your rival. And every second you waste pretending you have time is a second you will beg for when the clock runs out. Leaders don't wait. They initiate. They understand that someday is code for never. They don't need permission. They need a reason. And if your reason is big enough, the resistance will never be strong enough to stop you. Stop sitting on ideas. Stop waiting for signs. Move. Make the call. Start the draft. Launch the product. Send the message. Ask the question. Raise the standard. Cut the dead weight. You are not here to manage time. You are here to maximize it. So rise. Begin. Execute like your life depends on it, because it does. Because the distance between where you are and where you could be is not measured in miles, it's measured in moments. The moments you act versus the moments you delay. The moments you choose courage over comfort. And that brings you to Plan 7. Trade comfort for capacity. Every ambitious leader must come to terms with this truth. Comfort is the enemy of growth. The very thing you crave, ease, rest, safety, is the very thing that will kill your edge if you're not vigilant. Capacity, not comfort, is the currency of greatness. And the only way to expand it is to stretch. You stretch through early mornings. You stretch through hard conversations. You stretch by saying no when it's easier to say yes. You stretch by doing one more rep, writing one more line, pushing through one more obstacle, not because you feel like it, but because you're committed to becoming the kind of person who can carry what the future demands. Leadership is not about preserving what you have. It's about preparing for what you're building. And that kind of preparation demands Plan 8. Discipline your attention like your future depends on it, because it does. Focus is the superpower of the modern world. In a sea of distractions, the leader who can sit in stillness, lock in on a task, and execute without splintering their mind wins. Because attention is not just mental, it's spiritual. Where you place your focus is where you place your faith. You become what you consistently look at. So audit your inputs, clean your feed, turn off the noise, close the tabs. Protect your energy like royalty protects a throne, because what sits in your mental kingdom will determine the quality of your empire. And once your focus is sharpened, you activate Plan 9. Design your habits for your identity, not just your goals. Goals are great, but they are outcomes. Habits are identity, the system that keeps you consistent when motivation disappears, when the applause stops, when it's just you, the silence, and the standard you said you'd live by. You don't rise to what you say, you rise to what you repeat. And if your daily systems are built for average, no amount of ambition will save you from eventual mediocrity. So build routines that match the future you. Wake like they wake. Train like they train. Study like they study. Execute like they execute. Show up like your dream self already exists, and one day you'll look up and realize they do. And from identity flows Plan 10. Play long but move fast. Real leaders think in decades, not days. They're not chasing dopamine. They're building dynasties. But don't confuse long-term vision with slow movement. Just because your eyes are on the mountaintop doesn't mean your feet should drag. Move quickly on ideas. Pivot with agility. Execute at the speed of belief, because what you delay, you train your brain to distrust. Speed is not recklessness, it's readiness. It says, I'm not waiting for things to be perfect. I move because I know who I am. And when you move with speed and think with legacy, you step into the space of the elite, the ones who not only build, but outlast, which leads directly to Plan 11. Fortify your resilience before the storm comes. The question isn't if adversity will hit, it's when. And when it does, the leader doesn't panic. They pivot, because they've built their foundation on truth, not trends. On principles, not popularity. You build resilience by confronting small discomforts daily, so that when the big ones come, you don't crumble. You've already rehearsed the resistance. You've already stared failure in the face and said, you don't define me, you refine me. Tough times don't build character. They reveal it. And only the disciplined will stand when the winds rise. So you prepare now, not later. You prepare through mindset, through systems, through strong people in your corner who call out the champion in you when you forget it's there. And as resilience hardens your resolve, you ignite Plan 12. Surround yourself only with those who reflect your future, not your past. There is no neutral energy in your circle. Every conversation is either fueling your fire or feeding your fear. Every person is either echoing your purpose or diluting your identity. As a leader, you must protect your circle like a sacred chamber. There is no room for laziness, no space for entitlement, no tolerance for mediocrity masked as support. Because if they're not pushing you, challenging you, elevating you, they're dragging you. Surround yourself with assassins of excuses, architects of vision, builders of belief, people who remind you of who you said you'd be when the fire was fresh. Your circle is either your launch pad or your cage. Choose wisely. And now, with the right people in place, with your fire stoked, your habits locked, and your mindset sharp, you activate Plan 13. Speak like a leader, especially to yourself. Words create worlds. And no one hears your voice more than you. Every sentence you repeat is a command to your subconscious. So stop speaking in uncertainty. Stop hiding behind sarcasm and self-deprecation. That's not humility. It's self-sabotage. Speak power. Speak vision. Speak truth, even when it sounds arrogant to the small-minded. Speak with the authority of someone who has already decided to win. Your voice must become the soundtrack of your transformation. Every morning, every moment, every mirror. And as your voice rises, so too must your heart. Which brings us to Plan 14. Lead with gratitude, not just grind. Grind without gratitude turns to bitterness. Hustle without heart turns to emptiness. But when you root your pursuit in awe, in the sheer privilege of building, creating, serving, you access a deeper power. Gratitude doesn't make you soft. It makes you stronger because it centers you in perspective. It reminds you that you get to lead. You get to face pressure. You get to carry weight. Every obstacle is a gift in disguise. Every delay is a refinement. Every long night is proof you haven't quit. Be grateful not just for what you've gained, but for who you've become in the process. And now, with all the fuel, fire, and force aligned, you arrive at Plan 15. Lead yourself relentlessly so you can lead others effortlessly. Because when all is said and done, leadership is not about control. It's not about applause. It's not about followers. It's about becoming. You lead because you've chosen the harder path, the one where you own your flaws, sharpen your strengths, and carry the weight of vision when others collapse. And the more consistently you lead yourself, the less you need to motivate others. Your life becomes the sermon. Your actions become the message. Your standard becomes the invitation for others to rise. So rise. Become the kind of leader who leads from the inside out. Let your thoughts be intentional. Let your words be weapons of truth. Let your actions make legacy inevitable. Because the world does not need more noise. It needs you, fully alive, fully aligned, fully unleashed. This is how you change your life. This is how you lead. And when you lead like that, not from ego, not from image, but from essence, everything shifts. You don't chase influence, you become it. You don't force respect, you earn it. You don't need to be seen, because the impact of your presence becomes impossible to ignore. This is what ambitious leadership truly is. A quiet rebellion against mediocrity. A daily, deliberate defiance against everything that says, stay small. It is not something you do on stage or in a boardroom. It's what you do in the silence when no one is watching and no one is clapping. It's waking up earlier than your doubt. It's outworking your fear. It's sharpening your soul while others scroll. It's building what they can't see, so one day they stand in awe of what you refuse to quit on. Because ambition without structure is anxiety, and leadership without personal mastery is just noise. But you are not here to echo. You are here to initiate. So now, you lead with legacy in mind. You stop reacting to life and start architecting it. You create space in your calendar for the things that matter. You build systems that protect your peace and multiply your purpose. You stop explaining yourself to people who haven't earned access to your vision. And you rise not just in results, but in resonance. Your presence begins to speak louder than your profile. Your consistency becomes your credibility. And your attitude becomes your authority. This is what the world will see. But the world will never know the sacrifices made in silence, the prices paid in private, the inner battles you won while smiling on the outside. But you'll know, and that's enough. Because real leaders don't need constant praise, they need constant purpose. You are building something far beyond what the eye can see. A legacy, a movement, a ripple that will echo for generations, not just because of what you achieved, but because of who you chose to become. So as you walk back into your day, head high, eyes sharp, energy focused, remember this. You are not waiting for a moment. You are the moment. You are not hoping for a shift. You are the shift. You are not just dreaming of a better future. You are becoming the kind of leader who will build it. And when they ask how you changed your life, you won't give them a list. You'll just smile and live it. Because nothing is louder than a life lived in full alignment. No speech, no strategy, no social media post can rival the quiet power of a human being who embodies what they speak, who owns what they believe, who executes what they once only imagined. That's who you are now. You don't just talk about greatness, you build it. Brick by brick, standard by standard, day by day. While others chase shortcuts, you chase mastery. While others seek comfort, you seek clarity. While others want recognition, you demand responsibility. Because you know deep in your bones that leadership is not about being in front. It's about being solid. It's about being the one who can't be moved when the storm hits, the money dips, the team falters, the world changes. It's about becoming the constant in a world of variables. A pillar of principle, a symbol of consistency, a force of nature that doesn't flinch when tested. That is your new identity. Not built in one day, but reinforced, refined, and revealed through every decision made with intentionality. So every time you wake up, remember, you're not just waking to tasks. You're waking to testimony. You're not just building a life. You're building a legacy of example. You're not just a person doing the work. You are the proof that discipline wins, that purpose speaks louder than fear, that ambition aligned with integrity can move mountains. Because you were not sent here to replicate, you were sent to resonate. And when your life resonates with truth, with vision, with impact, the world shifts. Not because you told it to, but because your presence made it undeniable. So walk boldly, speak clearly, act decisively, forgive quickly, love deeply, move fiercely, and never again ask the world for permission to lead. You already did that when you decided to change your life. And now you're unstoppable. Because the moment you became unstoppable wasn't when they saw you succeed, it was when you refused to surrender in silence. When you picked yourself up, bleeding and bruised, and whispered, "I'm not done." That is the fire they won't understand. That is the edge they cannot imitate. That is the reason you will rise while others stall, because your ambition is not shallow. It is rooted in depth, in pain transformed into power, in vision shaped by fire. You stopped needing applause the day you discovered your assignment. And now, you don't need hype to move. You need only your word. You said you would rise, and you are rising. You said you would lead, and you are leading. You said you would become the kind of person you once only dreamed of. And now you're staring at the blueprint, hammer in hand, building it brick by brick. Let the world call it extreme. Let them call it obsession. Let them call it too much. You call it necessary. Because when you look at your future, the one you are forging with sweat, vision, and sacrifice, you see something they don't. You see the family that will be fed, the people who will be freed, the chains that will be broken, the ceiling that will be shattered because you decided to go first. This is what leadership is. Not title, not status, not image. It is sacrifice in silence for impact in eternity. You carry that weight not because it's easy, but because you can. And now you do it not out of duty, but out of destiny. So this is your vow burned into your mind, sealed into your bones. No more half steps. No more waiting to be chosen. No more settling for maybe. No more apologizing for the fire inside. From here forward, everything you do reflects who you've become. Not a person in pursuit of greatness, but the living proof of it. So let your actions roar. Let your standards speak louder than your status. Let your discipline echo through generations. Because you are no longer just a person trying to succeed. You are a leader, reshaping the world through the way you live. And that changes everything. And if they ask where it started, this shift, this rise, this transformation they now see in your eyes, you won't point to a stage or a spotlight. You'll point to the silence, to the dark mornings, to the lonely decisions, To the exact moment you looked at the life you were living and said with absolute finality, no more. Because that's where real change begins, not in noise, not in performance, but in resolve. That unshakable moment when you stop hoping life gets easier and decide you'll get stronger. When you stop craving comfort and choose capacity. When you stop fearing judgment and step fully into conviction. This is your real wealth. Not the money, not the metrics, but the man or woman you've become in the furnace of intentional action. You don't need to scream it. You show it in your posture, in your peace, in the intensity behind your calm, in the discipline behind your joy, in the weight your name carries, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. You've now become the kind of person who doesn't need to prove they've changed because your presence proves it. And what's more, your life now becomes permission. Permission for others to rise. Permission for others to dream bigger. Permission for others to believe that greatness isn't inherited, it's engineered. You are the proof, the walking, breathing, unrelenting proof that with vision, with structure, with faith and fire and impenetrable standards, anything can be transformed. You didn't just change your life. You rewrote the rules. You didn't just climb the mountain. You built a new one and showed others how to ascend. And from here on out, no matter how high you go, how far you stretch, how deeply you influence, you will always return to the root truth that made this all possible. You led yourself first. And because of that, you will never be lost again. Because no matter what storms may come, what setbacks may surface, what doubts may whisper, you will stand firm because you know who you are. You are the storm. You are the shift. You are the kind of leader who walks into the fire and builds cathedrals inside it. This is not the end of your journey. This is the birth of the next level. So don't slow down. Don't settle. Don't forget the weight you carry, the fire you bear, the lives you were born to impact. Now, go, lead, live, and never look back. Not with applause, not with a bow, but with a vow, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken because it's already been written into the rhythm of how you breathe, how you move, how you show up from this moment forward. Because this wasn't just a script. It was a mirror. It was a match. It was a mandate. And now that it's been lit inside you, there's only one thing left to do. Lead your life like it's the only one bold enough to break the mold. Because it is. And you are. There's a currency more sacred than gold, more unforgiving than failure, more powerful than talent, education, or even connections. It's the currency that every legend protects and every average life squanders. It's not money. It's not luck. It's not opportunity. It's time. Time is the only resource you cannot borrow, beg, steal, rewind, or replace. You don't get to save it. You only get to spend it. And what you spend it on will become the story of your life. Every second, a seed. Every minute, a mirror. Every hour, a brick laid in the structure of your legacy. And the cruel truth, most people are bankrupt. Not financially, spiritually, emotionally, purposefully, because they've traded time for the illusion of productivity, for the comfort of distraction, for the noise that keeps them busy, but never better. They wake up without purpose, move through their day without urgency, scroll through their hours like time is infinite, but it's not. It's perishable. It's dying as fast as you're breathing. And every second you waste, someone else is using that same moment to build, to sharpen, to rise. This isn't fear. This is truth. Because when you understand the value of time, you don't just respect it. You revere it. You treat it like royalty. You protect it like gold. You use it like fire in your hands. Because what you do with your time reveals what you truly value. You say you want success, but how much time did you give your dream today? You say you want freedom, but how much time did you waste on people who aren't free themselves? You say you want legacy, but how many of your hours are being spent building anything that will outlive you? Time is the great equalizer. It humbles kings. It empowers the unseen. It doesn't care about your past. It doesn't listen to your excuses. It only answers to your discipline. So, ask yourself, what is your relationship with time? Do you lead it, or does it lead you? Do you command your calendar, or are you a servant to circumstance? Do you start your day with intention, or do you wake up already in defeat? Because here's the truth. You don't have a time problem. You have a purpose problem, a priority problem, a personal standard problem. When time becomes sacred, your life becomes focused. Your yes becomes valuable. Your no becomes powerful. You stop entertaining what doesn't build you. You stop delaying what your future is begging for. You stop wasting hours on things that drain your spirit. Because you realize the way you spend your time is the way you spend yourself, and you were not made to be average. You were made to amplify, to execute, to rise. When you truly understand the value of time, you stop living like you have forever. You stop postponing your greatness. You stop pushing your potential into a mythical someday that never comes and never will, unless you command it into existence today. Because here's the harsh truth. If you died tomorrow, would the hours you live today have meant anything? Would they prove you were becoming who you said you'd become? Would they testify that you used your time with honor? Or would they echo back with silence? The silence of wasted potential, of borrowed time, of dreams that never got built? You see, you can't manage time if you don't first respect it. And you can't respect time until you understand that it doesn't care who you are. It only serves the committed. Time is like a mirror. It doesn't reflect what you want. It reflects what you prioritize. It reflects who you are when no one's watching. And this is what separates the ones who rise from the ones who always talk about rising. The successful, the fulfilled, the legendary. They don't treat time casually. They don't wake up hoping the day goes well. They own it. They build it. They bend it to the rhythm of their vision. Because when your life is urgent with purpose, time becomes a weapon, not a weight. You use every minute to shape something that matters. You walk into each hour like it owes you legacy. You protect your schedule like it holds your freedom, because it does. You don't give hours to the past. You don't give hours to people who don't respect your future. You don't give hours to excuses that have outlived their usefulness. Instead, you carve out space for mastery. You calendar your discipline. You schedule your future like it's your duty. And that's when time begins to multiply for you. Because here's the paradox of time. When you honor it, when you fill it with focus and purpose and execution, you get more of it. Not in quantity, but in quality, in impact, in clarity, in results. One focused hour in the hands of a person on fire with purpose is more valuable than a full day of scattered distraction. This is the difference between the extraordinary and the exhausted. They're not working harder. They're just working cleaner, more aligned, more precise, more present. They've learned how to say no, like their life depends on it, because it does. Every no to distraction is a yes to elevation. Every no to nonsense is a yes to your name being written in history. So ask yourself, what are you giving your hours to? What is your time feeding? What is your time creating? Because time is not just passing, it's taking shape. And what it becomes is up to you. Then stand tall, because this is the moment where your life pivots. Not next week, not when it's convenient. Now, because if you've truly understood anything up to this point, then you know This isn't about clocks. This isn't about to-do lists or productivity hacks. This is about honor. Honor for your calling. Honor for your mind. Honor for your one and only life. You see, the value of time is not found in how fast you can check off tasks. It's found in how deeply you can live each moment, how present you are in the creation of your future, how willing you are to pay the price today so you never have to beg tomorrow. Time is your teacher, your mirror, your currency, and your test. And every day you wake up with breath in your lungs, you are being asked one question: what will you do with me? That question comes with no warning, no negotiation, and no refund. You don't get to pause the clock until life feels fair. You don't get to rewind it just because you weren't ready. You don't get to fast forward to the good parts. But you do get to decide what you build with it. You do get to control what goes on your schedule. You do get to lead your hours like a king leads an army. That means no more killing time, no more wasting time, no more casual afternoons that bleed into purposeless nights. Every minute matters, because every minute is a vote. A vote for the life you want, or a vote for the life you're tolerating. You say you want greatness? Prove it with how you spend your mornings. You say you want peace? Show it by what you no longer allow into your mental space. You say you want legacy? Then honor your hours like the generations after you depend on it. Because they do. You don't get rich by working harder. You get rich by valuing time more than money. You don't build success by adding more. You build it by cutting what doesn't matter. And you don't create freedom by avoiding the clock. You create it by leading it, owning it, becoming the kind of person who uses time with surgical precision. And here's the final truth, the one that either breaks you or builds you. Your time is running out. Every minute is gone. Every breath spent. Every excuse stealing the only thing you can never get back. So stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for life to slow down and finally give you time. It won't. You make time. You declare war on distraction. You execute with clarity. You live so intentionally that time itself begins to bend in your direction, because that's what happens when your life is led with purpose. That's what happens when you decide right here, right now, that every day from this moment forward is a day you own, a day you build, a day you live fully aware that this moment is priceless and you're done letting it slip away. Let the world keep rushing. Let the clock keep ticking. Let others waste their hours in noise. But you move in clarity. You act with reverence. You rise with rhythm, and you lead your life like time is your most sacred resource, because it is. And now you know exactly what to do with it.